Good morning friends. இன்னைக்கு நம்ம என்ன பார்க்க போறோம்னா risk management. First let us know what is meant by risk. Risk is the uncertainty about the outcome which may either lead to profit potential or at the downside losses. For example, if you invest in a share, the share price may go up or it may come down. Supposing you buy share at 100 rupees and if it comes down to let us say 80 rupees, that means you are incurring a loss. This is what is known as risk. Because at the time of purchase you do not know whether the share price will go up or not. Therefore, risk is always uncertainty about the outcome. But why you take risk? Because you feel that risk may sometimes lead to profit potential. Also, the chances are 50-50. Now, from the examination point of view, today let us look at what is known as interest rate risk. From the banker's point of view, interest rate is the most important factor in deciding the profitability of the bank. Interest rate risk is the risk of loss that arise due to adverse movement in interest rates. Actually, if you take a deposit-oriented branch, but what I mean by deposit-oriented branch is, if the deposits in a branch is 10 crores and advances is only 3 crores, this branch has to give lot of interest towards depositors, which means expense is high if the interest rate goes up. So, a deposit-oriented branches always look for what is known as reduction in interest rate. Whereas an advance-oriented branch is one where advances is 100 crores and deposit is just 30 crores. In such a case, the advance-oriented branch always looks for a hike in interest rate because that will lead to generation of more interest income. Therefore, between branches, depending on the nature of the branch, you may either wish to have an increase in interest rate or a decrease in interest rate. But the interest rate is decided by the market forces. Now, from the examination point of view, you should remember that interest rate risk is the risk of loss that arises due to adverse movement in interest rates. Interest rate risk is classified into several types of risks. For example, there is what is known as mismatch risk. Mismatch risk arises when you accept deposits at 5% and accept deposits for 3 months at 5% and lend the money for 8% for 1 full year. Now what happens is, you have to pay interest at 5% whereas you receive interest at 8%, so you make a clean spread of 3%. But after 3 months, if the deposit interest rate goes up due to hike in market interest rates to 6%, then your profit comes down from 3% to 2%. So this risk arises due to difference in the time. You are accepting deposits for 3 months, whereas you lend money for 1 year. So if a risk arises due to this time difference, it is known as maturity mismatch risk. This is one type of risk. Then there is another type of risk which arises due to, this is known as embedded option risk. For example, every deposit has got a provision for premature closure. You accept a deposit for 5 years at 10% and you lend the money also for 5 years. Here you have avoided time risk, that is mismatch risk. Now what happens is, after 3 months, if the depositor comes for premature withdrawal of deposit, you will have to pay money to him. Now, to pay money, if you borrow from market at a higher interest rate, you are exposed to what is known as embedded option risk. Then there is a third type of risk which arises due to what we call yield curve risk. Normally, we will be discussing this in the next class. This is only to give an introduction about how the risk management will be covered in the class. Okay, friends? Now, let us call it a day. We are meeting again tomorrow to continue the discussions. Thank you.